Brenda, thank you so much for joining us. If we can, let's start off by talking to you about really what motivated you to get into the industry and what keeps you here.
My father was in oil and gas, and so I was exposed earlier on as a child, and so then at college I took my first oil and gas accounting class and just loved it. And so for there, I just felt like it was technical, it came to me very easily, and so when I joined Ernst & Young, I thought that was a good opportunity to do the oil and gas along with the international, and so it provided those opportunities as well. And so, why am I still there 20 years later? It's because it's always changing. It's very dynamic. And I feel like, with oil and gas, people have continued to be creative and to find better ways to produce oil and gas safely and efficiently. And I think you have those same creative people doing the financing structures. And so it's really expanded my business acumen by being involved in all sorts of creative transactions over my career.
And being involved, speaking of being involved in a lot of different things, you have a few different titles. Can you talk to us about your day-to-day, really what it's like for you to move through this company as well?
Sure. I mean, every day's a little bit different.
I imagine.
And busy.
Yeah.
That's one thing that hasn't changed. Is like one thing I think I have the opportunity to lead several different teams. And so with that comes with a lot of meetings just to make sure that there's a strong communication. The other thing is like with those meetings and teams, it's what is our strategy both internally as well as communicating that externally. I'd say the other kind of big faction of my job is just really risk management. And so how does that work over time? And when you get to this level, there's no playbook. So there's no black and white. And so there's different shades of gray. And so, my job is to make the best decision, for our company as well as our shareholders.
And speaking about, looking at your positions, what about a significant career milestone? Can you look back and describe any of that time for us?
I think that honestly moving to Concho was a huge step for me because it's like being in public accounting for almost 15 years. And that provided just such a great base of different clients and experience and offices. But moving to Concho, just being able to be on the inside of a company and really just get to see the whole industry so much closer and just get a lot closer to the operations.
And these are trying times, of course, we know up and down for the oil and gas industry. Can you talk a little bit about, speaking to Concho's really staying relevant and staying strong in these times as well?
Yeah, so with Concho, we've had the same key principles for a long time. And so that goes back to people, and they're our best asset. And then along with good asset quality in the Permian, returns, so making sure we're profitable on those assets and being as efficient as possible, as well as the balance sheet. And so really focused on a strong balance sheet to really weather us through the good times and the bad, and really listening to our shareholder base right now. You've seen a big change, and so our focus, with the balance sheet as well as return is returning more free cash flows to the shareholders, as well as the other hot topic is ESG. And so that's something I'm really proud of. We did our first 2-degree report in 2019, and we're looking to expand those disclosures to do a more fulsome sustainability report in the near future.
That's great to hear. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have advice for younger professionals? Looking back a little bit, maybe some that are trying to find their place in the industry, anything you can share there?
Sure. I mean, I think for me, when I look back, it's like being bold, finding your voice. I think it's difficult to take those opportunities because you're uncomfortable. But what I would encourage people to do is be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like when I look back, that's when I learned the most, is when I was taking a chance or a risk versus other times when there was a little bit more status quo, you weren't developing at the same pace. The other thing I would say is you always have to work hard. I mean, that's a critical milestone network, but I think with the working hard, you can't forget playing. And so for me, it's like vacation has always been something important to me, and I work a lot and I schedule it properly, and I've been really lucky and the stars have aligned almost every year. But I think it's really important to take that time to refresh, and I think some people get early on just way too head down, and it's like you can't forget that relaxation piece is important too.
That is very good advice. That kind of transitions into a work-life balance question, I guess. Does that play into that as well, you think, for advice there?
It does. I mean, and I think work-life balance is different for everyone. And so for me, it's like I probably work a lot and longer hours, and I probably take more vacations.
Well, there you go.
Versus others, may look at it a little bit different, but trying to carve out what that means, that will always be a tough topic for women. Absolutely.
And can you share any challenge that you may be able to pinpoint that you faced with being a woman in the industry? What has that been like for you there?
There's multiple challenges, and I don't think it's just in oil and gas. I think it's across,
Yeah.
the whole economic spectrum, especially in the financial and other even operational roles. I think, for me, it was learning how to be measured in my emotions and my responses. And I think having that level head is important, and that's something that's not always natural, for women. I think the other thing is the confidence. And, I think many women really struggle to just have the confidence in themselves, and they are always second guessing themselves. And I think it's really important to know that you're right alongside all of your peers, and a lot of times you're ahead of them. And it's just having that confidence. I think it gets back to one of my earlier comments about being uncomfortable. Make yourself uncomfortable. And I think a lot of times women are a little hesitant to do that.
Good advice there, Brenda. What about mentors? How important do you think mentors are? They could kind of go into that, I guess, being uncomfortable, maybe asking for help. How important do you think that is?
It's huge. I look back on my career, and early on, I remember getting that advice all the time. Find a mentor, but it's really finding the right mentor at the right time in your career. And so I had people that opened doors, I had people that helped me network, and then I had the sponsors later in life, and you need all those different ones at different times. But my advice is not just go find a mentor. I think it's put your head down and do a good job, and you and your mentor will find each other, because it's a relationship. It's a two-way relationship, and I think it's important to remember that as the mentee, that people want to invest their time wisely. And so I think when you're proving yourself as doing a good job and being engaged, people want to help you as well.
Great. That really makes sense there. Can you talk to us a little bit about your thoughts about being included in this dynamic group of women, very deserving of this for you, honoring in this group, but also how important you think programs like this are for our industry?
I'm very honored to be here today. I was so pleased to get the announcement in the fall. For me, it's like I've worked so hard for 20 plus years now, and it's just an affirmation that wasn't for naught, and it's been recognized, and it's just an intangible that's really indescribable. I was just very excited. I think for younger women looking at the industry, I think it's really important for them to see women in high-powered positions. I think because it's not as common, and I think to celebrate it and show that it's possible, and hopefully that will give the next generation of strong women the confidence to continue to persevere on in their career.
Thank you so much, Brenda. We appreciate your time and also you sharing your story with us as well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And for Heart Energy, I'm Jessica Morales.